2 words. Go home. The message was obscure, and it was clear. Go home, because this isn't it. The sign was stained from rain and snow, scraped by stuff blown by wind, torn a bit here and there, maybe by birds looking for something to line a nest. Monk didn't think anything torn from that sign would ever make it to a nest, though. The smarter birds would have dropped the paper before wrapping it around their eggs. The dimmer ones might have gotten all the way home with it, then their mate would have balked and kicked it away. Go home, said Monk. There was a U-Haul hitched to the back of his car. Everything he owned was in it. He slapped his pockets for his smokes, didn't find them, and remembered he was 4 days into his 100th attempt to quit. Cigarettes were a bad habit, and he'd picked it up for the same reasons cops did. Monk spent hours, sometimes days, sitting in cars, watching closed houses or apartments for the right person to come through the door. For cops, it was someone they wanted to arrest. For Monk, it was someone who'd already been arrested, charged, and who'd skipped out on his court appearance. The bail bondsman who hired Monk to find those people paid him well, but the waiting was a bitch. Smoking gave his hands and mouth something to do, but he needed to stop killing himself one death stick at a time. All that said, he decided to find a store and buy a carton. It wasn't that far down the shitter that he was going to dig an ashy butt from the tray. Give that a day or two in this place. Go home. Well, fuck me, he said, and put the car into gear, pulled onto the road, and drove toward the sunset. Behind him, across the river on the Jersey side, it was already getting dark. There were moody clouds bullying their way into the sky. He drove along the blacktop. He drove to Pine Deep. He drove home. 3. There were hundreds of blackbirds on the power lines along Route A32. Most were crows, some starlings and grackles. A few were so thin and threadbare that it was impossible to tell what they were. Maybe they didn't even know. It was that kind of town. Only a few of those birds were old enough to remember what happened the night Pine Deep burned. All of the birds, the black ones, the night birds, knew it, though. It was the lore of their kind. The birds sat there in the fading light of the 1st of October, rustling their feathers, gossiping the way birds do, watching the old car with the trailer drive past. They stopped whispering and watched, with black within black eyes. They knew trouble when they saw it. One by one, the night birds fell like suicides from the cables, plummeting until they flapped their wings and then flew along the road behind him. The bruised clouds in the east reached for them with fingers of rain, but they outflew it. The car and the night birds followed the long road as it snaked and turned, rose and fell, rolling like a black promise through the endless fields of corn and pumpkins, of apples and garlic. Farmhouses, remote as ships on the ocean, stood amid oceans of green that rippled in the freshening storm breeze. Farm roads cut off north and south, seemingly at random. Every signpost was pocked with bullet holes, old and new. Every now and then, the car passed a house or barn that was nothing more than a blackened shell overgrown with creeper vines. There were several houses being built, but the green wood bones looked naked and vulnerable. 4 miles from town, the car passed a man who leaned his shoulder against a fence, his face shadowed by the visor of a ball cap embroidered with Pine Deep scarecrows. He wore layers of filthy clothes, sports coats and fishing vests and tropical shirts and flannel shirts and windbreakers. There was no scheme to the clothes, except they all had pockets. Lots of pockets.